When I made my 2026 bingo card, I put down that I would make $5,000 from my small business alone. It is July, and I have made $4,718.85. I am like, how much? I am $281 away from my 2026 goal with 5 months left of the year. But I had to completely abandon the plan that I put forth to reach that goal. It wasn't working. I had to completely give up on it. And let's talk about it, because 2026 Molly would be shook. This is a mid-year check-in. Thank you so much for being here. By the way, you see this cute Bulbasaur? Yeah. Oh, whoopsie, sorry. See this cute Bulbasaur? I have a free pattern for him on my YouTube channel right now if you want to make him for your upcoming markets or your cons, and let's get into this. First, I should probably tell you why I had $5,000 as a goal for 2026 in the first place. And also I'm going to fully go into like how I made the money I did and break it down so that you know what all happened. So I started my business in June 2025, and I actually started because I signed up for an art market. It's a Jash Beach art market. I signed up for it before I had a single product to my name, which is crazy. I immediately scoured free crochet patterns all over the place, and the things I had Loaf Cats, I had this cute little duck pattern that has a flower hat, and I made crow versions of that, and there was a free frog pattern on Instagram, and I also made the flowers from the crows and the ducks to also put on the frog. And I think, yes, I had poppet mushrooms and I had strawberries. I think for the strawberries I made my own pattern because I couldn't find a good one, and I don't think I wrote that down anywhere. But those are the only things I had at my first ever booth, and I actually did a full video of my market prep for that market. If you want to go see little Molly, little Bubble Knot, if you want to go see her, she's there. Everything's been documented on this YouTube channel, which is crazy to think about. It was my first ever art market, first time I ever sold a single crochet item, and I made $500 from my first ever market. It probably helped I had like a 20% off of everything sale. I had a sign saying it was my first market. I was friendly with people, and it was very obvious I had just started, so I think a lot of people really wanted to give me support for that, which was really sweet. I then immediately did another market in July, and there was a major heat wave, and I made $200, and it was not good. And then other markets I did after that were just complete flops. However, I had an Etsy from June to December, and I had no sales at all until December, where someone bought my giant crochet dragon, which I also have a whole video dedicated to making that dragon and being so excited. And someone bought them for $150, and they love them. It went to a sweet little girl for Christmas, and after that, my Etsy started popping off a little bit. I made multiple sales. I sold, it was all physical plushies. So I sold the dragon. I believe I sold Totoros. I think I sold a dog or a cat, and I got to ship out those orders, and that was super duper cool. And so by the end of 2025, that December, I had made about $230 from Etsy, which was so cool. Like I went months where no one knew my thing existed to having like, boom, I made $230 in the month of December. I was pumped. So in total, from my art markets and Etsy from June 2025 to December 2025, which is about 6 months, I had made $1,500 just about. So $1,500 for those 6 months. And so when I was planning out my 2026 goals, I knew, okay, I made $1,000. I want to push myself really hard, and I want to try to make $5,000 for 2026. So my plan, the only way that I really knew that I was able to make money was doing markets. So I tried to sign up for a bunch of them. I'm like, okay, like this is what I'm going to do. I'm gonna go full-fledged into markets. I'm gonna make 5K for my markets. I got this. And then in January, I had a market where I made $80, not minus the booth fee, which I don't even remember what it was. And then I had a market in March where no one came to it. One person bought one thing from me, so I made $10 from that market, and then it downpoured and all my plushies got soaked. And then in April, I had my wedding, and I was like, nope, nope. I really wanted to give up. And you can find it on my channel where I took a month-long break. I have a full-time job. I'm a full-time teacher. And so I was like, between my full-time job, between my wedding, and between my content creation, which I really took a lot of pride in, I was like, something has to give. I can't do this right now. And so my small business was what gave, and I took a month-long break completely from crocheting, from trying anything. It wasn't reliable, and while I'm sad that I had to take a break for that month, it gave me so much time to reflect and realize that, yeah, markets aren't gonna do it for me, but I have other things that will. While it sounds like I was making absolutely no money at all at the very beginning of 2026, which for markets, yeah, no, I was not. But I did have a few successes that I didn't tell you about that was keeping me going during this time. One of them being this guy here. This is a jumbo goose. I made this pattern during December of 2025 going to 2026 because I wanted a temperature goose, and to make a temperature goose where every round in his body corresponds to a week in 2026, and you could track the temperature. So instead of doing a temperature blanket, you can make a temperature goose, and I just thought that would be a really fun thing for me to do, and I made it for me, myself, and I got the pattern done, I got posted, and every week I was posting an update on the week that I was doing for the temperature goose and just showing him off. And he took off. He was my first ever video to go viral on Instagram, and right now his pattern alone has made me $1,300 on Etsy, and that's like minusing fees, that's minusing like so many other things. Like, that's how much his pattern has made me. Crazy. It made me realize that pattern designing is actually something that allows me to be creative, to make plushies I love, but also allows me the time to recharge, because while people are buying the pattern on Etsy, I made it once, I'm not remaking it again. Well, I'm actually revisiting this guy because I made a no-sew version that I'm gonna put in there for free, so anyone that bought the pattern will get the no-sew version for free. But I made it once and I left it, and it's made $1,000. Like, I haven't touched it at all. I reply to people, I answer questions that they have, but other than that, it's its own thing, and people have been leaving reviews, and it's been giving more eyes to my Etsy, and has led to my other patterns I designed. For example, my chunky friends have been getting love because of this pattern. It was the best thing in the world, it really was. But I know that I'm still a very small creator, and I shouldn't rely on pattern designing alone, especially since I'm so new to the field and I didn't have that big of a following, especially at the beginning of 2026 and all that stuff, and still now, actually. But I am still a baby designer, in my opinion. I've been doing it for like 6 months. Like, I'm still learning all kinds of things, which again is why I'm going to revisit his pattern and give everyone the free version of his no-sew pattern if they bought the original one. And of course, if you go onto my Etsy after I fix this, you would get both versions when you buy him, just letting you know. But I knew that my products did sell, like they did still sell at markets. I had not had a market where I sold nothing. I've at least always sold one product at least. So I knew that people did like my items and they would be okay to buy it. I just wasn't in the right areas. And so I had to switch gears. Instead of doing pop-up markets, which are cheaper to get into, I decided I would be okay putting down money if it guaranteed a larger crowd and people that would actually want to buy my products. And that brings me to cons, anime cons, conventions, any con you can think of, great option. I did a con in February where I made about $700. It was a single day con, and it wasn't as popular as I think most cons could be. However, that made me realize, wow, this was the vibe of a popular market, and I made $700. And I didn't even have like the coolest things in the world. I actually was super stressed because again, it was February. It was before my wedding. I was super stressed. I was super stressed, and so all I had were like my chunky friends and some random little other guys, but I still made $700 from that con. So I knew in my mind that cons were a potential to gain money towards my goal. And so I was like, okay, Bold Matsuri it is. I applied for Bold Matsuri. I got into it. Awesome. Cool. I did a whole vlog on that as well, a market prep. I did multiple game characters. I still have my chunky friends. If there are any patterns in that video that you see, by the way, where you're like, what was that pattern? And I didn't have it listed, just ask me in the comments below. I will link it to you immediately, no questions asked. At Bold Matsuri, I did have about 5 or 6 other crochet booths that I was competing with, and there were a lot of people that sold other products and just also brought their crochet items. And so I had those booths to compete with, and yet I still made $1,410. Like, what? That's the most I've ever made from anything in the world. So that's when I realized, okay, cons it is. Cons all the way. And if you want to see like a full breakdown of like what sold and when for the con, go check out that con prep video that I posted. I go into details about like how much money I made and when and all that stuff. But let's do our official mid-year check-in for that 5K goal. On Etsy, I've made $2,102.40. On Teachers Pay Teachers, I did have some products linked on there from curriculum that I had made personally, and I made $31.45 so far this year. Based on my Square data, I have made $1,461 from credit card and debit card transactions. In cash, I made $1,124. And I wanted to keep it separate because Square doesn't keep track of your trash transactions, so I have that written down here for me to like know what's going on. I need $281.15 to make it to my goal, and I have some new plans to try to do that. First one, I'm really gonna try to get monetized on YouTube. That's also on my 2026 bingo card, and I've been working towards that slowly. Here's where I'm at right now, closest I've ever been to getting monetized, and there's still a long way to go, but I'm almost there. My second one is I'm going to try to make a crochet snail mail club, which you guys are going to see soon. So go ahead and hit subscribe if you're watching this, because you seem to like this video if you're still watching it. Hi, we could be besties. I'm doing Patreon because I plan to have 2 tiers. The first tier is where you would get the 2 patterns I post every month and be automatically a tester call, etc. And you'll get shout out in my videos and just showered in love. The snail mail will be where you get physical stuff sent to you. It would include the pattern, so you get an additional pattern on top of the 2 free patterns. It also will be available to you digitally, but it'll be happy mail, and it will include like a stitch marker, a yarn needle, my yarn swatch, photos of how I designed the pattern, all my drafts that I've made, and probably have your own separate group chat where you and other people in a tier can just chat with each other, be like, oh my gosh, I got the letter, here's how it looks, and just talk to each other about it. That's actually my goal for August, is to get that out, and this guy is a part of it, because what better way to start my snail mail crochet club than to have the no-sew version of this giant goose dressed as a mailman. And again, you would get cute stickers, stitch markers, etc., all connected to him. And I think I'm gonna try to dabble in like other cute things to add in there, like maybe adding a monthly bingo card and things like that. So we'll see. And I think I might actually be able to do this. And especially with your help, there's no way I can't do it without your help. So thank you so much for being here. And let me know if you've ever had to completely change your plan, because December 2026 Molly would not believe that I made 2K from Etsy alone halfway through the year. She would be like, no, you didn't. She also would be like, what do you mean cons? Like, what do you mean you're a vendor at a con? That's crazy.